What are you doing to combat against toxic black culture? And then how does your movie Unveiling BLM add to what you're doing? Do you see how it can add to it? Do you see how it can hinder the movement?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. I'm so glad you asked it, obviously, because it just lets me brag about myself. So the thing that the media never tells about anybody, and it's so infuriating that they ever say about me, is that it's just like, Candice is just critiquing Black America, and then they just strip away everything that I do for Black America. I run a charity. It's called Blexit.com. It's a successful charity.
What have they done? Because I genuinely don't know any good that they've done for our community.
So congrats on your movie.
Thank
I
you.
know it takes a lot of effort to put stuff like that out there. Let's see. So I know you've spoken on like toxic black culture and all that stuff. Besides public speaking, what are you doing to combat against toxic black culture? And then how does your movie Unveiling BLM add to what you're doing?
Off rip, and I don't want to pause it this early, but here's my problem with the question. He said, besides public speaking. What do you mean besides public speaking? Like, what do you mean besides public speaking? When you look at someone like Candice Owens, and this is not to necessarily support her, but when you look at her specifically, she is a public speaker. She has a huge platform. And sometimes your voice is enough to push change. What was Dr. Martin Luther King? He was a public speaker. Let's talk about the Bible. What was Jesus Christ? He was a public speaker. Although they did other things. Their main thing was public speaking. So when you look at Candice Owens and you try to basically denounce her skill, her God-given ability to speak publicly, it kind of puts the question in a negative connotation. And I don't appreciate that specifically. But let's get back into the video.
Do you see how it can add to it? Do you see how it can hinder the movement? I don't know.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. I'm so glad you asked it, obviously, because it just lets me brag about myself. So the thing that the media never tells about anybody, and it's so infuriating that they ever say about me, is that it's just like, Candice is just critiquing Black America, and then they just strip away everything that I do for Black America. I run a charity. It's called Blexit.com. It's a successful charity, and we are in 39, actually now 41 states. You can go on to Blexit.com, and you can see what we are doing in these inner cities. We have after-school programs in which we pick up these children that are in disadvantaged districts, and we bring them so that they can learn different ideas and so that their parents don't have to worry about them being on the streets. Aside from after-school programs, we run summer camps for these children so that they have somewhere to go so that their parents don't have to worry about them being on the streets. Aside from just complaining about BLM and all the destruction that it brought to inner cities, we raised over $100,000 and gave it. We picked Black businesses that had been destroyed in the George Floyd riots, and we gave it to them. Now, I'm telling you all this stuff because the media never will. They need to paint me as a monster and a person that hates my own race because I have higher expectations, because we should have...
When she talks about BLM, I don't really have much knowledge about BLM. Only thing I know, and she said they kind of destroy neighborhoods. I personally don't know if that's true. What I do know is that the organization BLM collected a lot of money. They collected a lot of money because as African Americans, we bought a lot of their merch. Even people who aren't African American, they bought a lot of their merch. They supported a lot of their causes. They donated a lot to their organizations. Yet, other than clothes, what have they done? And this is not rhetorical. If anyone knows, like, what have they built for the cause that they say they supported? What have they built for the group community that they say they supported? I can't tell you. What I can tell you is that they were caught hiring their own family members and kind of laundering money from the organization to their family in the forms of hiring cousins for security. It was a lot going on. But other than that, and this is not rhetorical, what have they done? Because I genuinely don't know any good that they've done for our community.
Higher expectations, and there's been this routine lowering of the bar. In terms of the documentary, my purpose in producing that film was that I never thought that there was a more toxic narrative for Black America than the George Floyd story and the lies surrounding it. And I wanted to do that film in a compassionate way because after speaking to his roommates, I felt sad. This was a man that was struggling with drug addiction. Drug addiction is something that probably every single person in this room can relate to. Somebody in your family, a cousin, a brother. This is something that touches Americans. And the George Floyd story should have been a story that brought Americans together. And it's not his fault that after he died, horrible people used the media narrative to divide Americans, to burn down black inner city communities, and to raise BLM into the multi-million-dollar organization that essentially stole from Americans. And so I wanted to expose all of that because I think that once you expose a lie that big, it helps people be less emotional and to really understand, which was, I think, the thesis of my film, which is that the media is our enemy.
So then, what can I do to add to what you're doing?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I said, what can I do to add to what you're doing?
Join
Blexit. We join the Blexit chapter. Get involved. Every single person. I better see Blexit.
I've never heard of Blexit. I don't know what Blexit is, but I'm gonna research Blexit more. Honestly, I don't really follow Candice Owens' career specifically, but in her defense, I don't follow anyone's career specifically. I'm kind of still in college. I'm trying to get this degree. I'm not gonna lie. But if you have any more suggestions for me, comment it down below. And one thing about this young man that I appreciate is that he didn't necessarily try to attack Candice Owens' character. Because if you're a college student or if you're working a day job, I doubt you even know enough about a lot of these people to attack their character. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. Unless they're super big in society, or unless you're super dialed in on one specific category of life, such as politics or maybe sports, you'll know. But on an average day-to-day, you don't know. And I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know. I'm not really dialed in as much as I probably should be. But anyways, if you have any more suggestions for me, comment down below. So for Jojo, and I'll see you on the next video.